Hello and welcome back to Remake Hot Take, the podcast where we play studio executives pitching remake ideas of our favorite and new media. My name is Marriyaschwarz.
And I am Brooke Rees, and we are back and better than ever with the 2024 movie Unfrosted, directed by Jerry Seinfeld. And I liked it, but Marriya, I think, is gonna bring a lot of energy.
Negative
A lot
energy.
of a lot of negativity to the pod, but we love it because I didn't have like super strong like good opinions, just kind of like neutral good. So I think it'll be interesting to get your take. But yeah, we've been off the airwaves. We we've
Are
had
we
some
on airwaves?
I think so.
Don't you have to be like on
Like
a
on the
radio
radio.
station?
I thought this was a radio station.
Oh.
No, no, you maybe we're just like in our bedrooms, just posting on YouTube for no one to watch. Anyways,
So we had to leave because Brooke broke away from reality and
yeah,
she thought that we were on the radio.
yeah, I had a mental breakdown. And I moved into my own apartment. And moving is just one of the worst things that could happen to a person. One of the worst things to do. So yeah, we've been taking a little break. Marriya moved as well, but you have an elevator, right?
Mm-hmm.
That makes a world of a difference, man.
What
Um,
floor do you live on?
I'm
Go ahead,
on
tell everyone.
my exact location. I'm on the fourth floor.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so it's like it could be worse, it could be like in a New York City apartment with no elevator, but it was traumatic for me to haul the boxes, but yeah, we are back and better than ever.
You keep
Um
saying that, and I think we should set expectations low.
we are back and as mediocre as ever.
There we go.
Um, but yes, we are covering Unfrosted 2024, the story, or like what the untold true story of the race to have a toaster pastry.
It could have been left untold.
No, okay, so let's jump into what are your overall thoughts and opinions on this movie, and then we can dive into specifics.
It was too much. There was no editor. I think maybe there was like, like a film editor to clip all of the little skits together. I would call them
Mhm.
skits. I don't even think it was like an entire movie. It was like, and I think that's part of it is like a lot of the people there were like SNL people
Mhm.
who like I think sketch writing and movie writing are incredibly different.
Mhm.
Because like sketch writing, it's like you only have so much time to like really get in there and like make a good joke and like retain attention. Um, versus like film writing when it's like kind of like a long scale thing. You have to keep someone's attention for a long time. And this was just kind of like little skits, and they were just like throwing jokes at that like didn't really land most of the time. But it was because it was like, skit humor rather than like a actual cohesive movie. So I just think it was too much. There was no like editor in the writer's room that was like, hey, maybe we should scale back this idea so that we can make this like watchable. No, we just decided every single idea. Do you have an idea? I don't know, the interns, do they have ideas? Does the janitorial staff have ideas? Everyone's ideas went into this movie.
They like put them all up on like the whiteboard, and then instead
Mhm.
of like narrowing them down, they were just like, yes, we'll film this
Mhm.
one day one, this one
Yep.
day two. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't argue with that. It did feel very, very chaotic, very fast paced, like you said, kind of just like one scene into another bit.
Mhm.
But I didn't dislike that though. It caught me like in a good mood. I was like, I'm ready for some like wacky zany material. So yeah, I didn't actually mind like the fast-paced or like somewhat interconnected, but very loosely so skit to skit kind of thing. I thought that a lot of them were like really funny though. Like I thought the bits were landing with me. but but maybe not so with you. Did you have like any funny moments that you thought, or was it all just
I
like
liked
cringe?
I liked the funeral part. I thought
Mm,
that was like a good part. I don't know. I just thought like, the time where they see the, the sugar tycoon mob boss or whatever, and then he brings in like this puppet show is just like like why did we need that? Like why couldn't we have edited that down? That was just it was like how are we going to get in as many of our friends as possible?
yeah.
Um, and it was just, I don't know. I thought it was overwhelming and I felt like, we jumped into it really quickly where it's like it's only been like 5 minutes and now I suddenly care if Kellogg wins this like award versus the Post, or I'm supposed to root for Kellogg when I really don't know these characters at all.
Hmm.
And so I felt like it was also like relying on like brand knowledge, which
Hmm.
like obviously I know Kellogg's. I can't say that I'm like super familiar with Post.
Mm-mm.
And I felt like that was like a key thing where I was like, there were jokes about Post that I was supposed to get, but I felt like I needed like previous reading. Like it felt like I was showing up to the class discussion unprepared,
Yeah, like more
not getting the
exposition.
blackboard post. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say like I don't know, I didn't think it needed more exposition. Where I felt the story like went a little flat for me was the ending. Like I
Mm.
felt like we were going along like at a good pace in my opinion. And then like the last like 15 minutes, like where there was supposed to be like a climax and like we're like in in the space race, everything that I think it's very funny, they took this Kennedy era space race, Russian Cold War, and then also like Oppenheimer, like
Well,
nuclear fusion, and
that's the thing is like it would have been nice. I liked the space race idea. I liked like the press conference, like we're entering into the pastry race or whatever. But then they also had like World War II, they had Vietnam. And it's like, let's just stick with one idea and
hmm
go off with it. And I felt like that was kind of my issue overall was like, it would have been enough to just do like I loved the Kellogg's jokes, I loved the Tony the Tiger
hmm
jokes, but then it was like we got tired or like we ran out of content on those
hmm
topics. And so then we added in sea monkeys, we added in Chef Boyardee, and it was like these aren't even really related to Kellogg's and like why
hmm
are they here? And also like Chef Boyardee at one point says like uh-oh SpaghettiOs, which is a reference to SpaghettiOs, which is Campbell's. So like it doesn't even land. So it was like the humor wasn't even like informed. It was like let's do no extra research. Let's just build off of knowledge that we read 10 years ago when we did a Wikipedia dive. I don't
hmm
know.
Yeah, no, I can see that. What I was saying is like and I agree with you too. It's like the space race, nuclear, war was, in my opinion, like the best bit that they had, and that was like the
Hmm.
framework for everything. And then, like I was saying, where I felt they like fell flat is that we were like sticking with that like space race theme and plugging along, and then like literally in the last like 10 minutes of a pretty short film, like hour and a half, which is like kind of standard these days but also on the shorter side, especially when you compare it with something like Oppenheimer that it was
Yeah.
kind of parodying. um it felt like choosing that framework did not like match with only an hour and a half film, because literally, like you said, it feels like they kind of like ran out of content. Like it was like enough to like push the initial hour worth of jokes, and then that last half hour just got a little bit weird, and they turned to like a union busting or like Kellogg's is trying to like union bust the like mascots in Tony the Tiger, and we went back to like the milk mob boss, which I found funny, but it was just like we spent like a little bit too much time with these things when we like missed the initial framework of the space race.
Mhm.
And in the last like 5 minutes, they literally like did the thing where they were like, okay, and they won, and then this happened and this happened and this happened, like all in like a
Yeah.
voice over wrap up, which is like one of my like least favorite ways to end a film, is like voiceover wrap up, it in the sense that if they're doing it to like add on like 10 additional points that just like weren't enough to actually film. So they were like, this happened and this happened, but I they were building it up so much that I was like surely there's going to be another hurdle, because that's how like all of these space race Oppenheimer films work. It's like they have the first thing, and then there's a setback, and then another thing and a setback. So I was like, oh, clearly like launch day, like it's not gonna happen. Like something else is gonna set him
Oh
back,
yeah, yeah.
but it didn't. Like it just like
Just like, hooray, our name that we didn't even come up with was a success.
yeah, like I was like, okay, we're building up to this moment where the mascots are gonna get the FDA approver stamp guide and not do it. And then they just did it. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I was like, okay. And then like Jerry Seinfeld like voiceover of like how the ending worked out for everyone and like what happened to each of the characters. So yeah, the last like 15 minutes for me, I was like, what the heck just happened? But yeah,
Yeah. In that
totally.
way, I think it was like it was very disappointing because it felt like all of these pieces just kind of fell into place. Like even the way that they were like, we're going to take little bits of each person's design and create a Pop-Tart did not even like make sense to me fully. So it was like this win that they had didn't even actually feel like earned or
Mhm.
deserved. And so I don't know, it just felt very unsatisfying. And like that's the part about it is like they had this all of these great ideas that they could have done more with, but
Yeah.
instead they just decided to like it was more like quantity over quality in my opinion, and it was like, it was like a fun little one-off that Chef Boyardee, or I think it was Chef Boyardee, accidentally put the sea monkeys into the ravioli. But then that like became a major plot point for some reason. And it was just
No.
like, why did we? I don't know. It was just like they chose the wrong things in my mind to prioritize.
Hmm. I actually loved the little ravioli boy. The I'm a real boy. Like I liked that. I wish we had doubled down on that one. And they did get like a little cameo at the end. But yeah, I guess they're if they're trying to stick with like an Oppenheimer-esque parody, the bringing in of the world-renowned experts like makes sense. But I agree that they chose such random figures from
Yeah.
from the 19 what are 60s.
Yeah.
um
I mean, like they could have done, I don't know, something more Kelloggy related or like
mhm.
cereal related. It was just like, what are some random things that we can think of from the 60s? Why don't we
Yeah,
put them in?
and I
Um,
honestly I don't think it needed it. Like I think
no.
if we just had just like a random panel of like food scientist experts, like I think we could have stuck more to the initial plot.
And
But
I don't, then like maybe that's just because like I wasn't alive in the 60s, but I also didn't fully know who everyone was.
mhm.
So there, I also felt like I don't know, maybe I was like, who is this? Who is this film for? I think it's just for Jerry
Jerry
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld.
Someone on Letterboxd was saying um that like, oh, I see everyone is talking about how like this film has jokes every minute and not all of them are landing. Well, I went to a screening where Jerry Seinfeld laughed at every single joke, so we know who this was for.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. A lot of the figures I did not know.
Yeah, I kind of had to like look it up and do more research than I think maybe the writers did.
Yeah, I feel like it could be for like a 60-year-old plus crowd, but
Mhm.
I also don't know that that's like, I'm just thinking about like my parents as like 60 plus years old people. I don't think that's the kind of movie that they really enjoy. Like that's like
Yeah.
a bit too wacky and a bit too fast paced for them.
And I feel like
Um,
Netflix is also kind of like a more Gen Z oriented streaming service.
yeah. Yeah, maybe if, I don't know. I feel like my parents watch a lot of Apple TV.
Right? Same,
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe if Apple TV took this over. But again, I don't know that like I don't know what they were trying to accomplish. Because if they I get the sense that they did not take themselves very seriously in the production of this. And like Marriya sees that as like, you know, a bad thing. Like they had everyone just slap a post-it on the board and get ideas from the intern. I don't know that I like dislike that this movie is like ridiculous and not that serious, but you know, I don't know what they were trying to accomplish, but I there definitely were like a lot of points and a lot of bits that I really did like. Were there, so you said the cereal funeral when they're like pouring milk in there.
And I think like I think the with the bits, it's like some of them definitely were landing, but they just went so fast. Like I think why I
Mhm.
really liked the funeral sequence is that it went on for longer than the other little bits so that I could like process it and because I'm not really like a laugh out loud. I'm like a something happens. Ah, good. Give me another. Like, I need time to process it, sink it in, and then go, haha, that is funny.
Okay, I'm definitely
Also,
like,
is Hugh Grant okay? Like, what is his career trajectory at this point?
I don't know. I'm definitely a laugh out loud kind of person. I'm like a ha, like as it's
Oh,
happening. I'm like a ha, I
wow.
see what you did there, and then like talk throughout the entirety of the movie. Hugh Grant, I don't know. And you know, people were, I think there was speculation that he was maybe one of the like actors that was really mean to what's her name that's in Dune and uh
Zendaya?
no, she's like the mom in Dune, and she's also in Mission Impossible, that
Oh my God, I
actress.
haven't seen any of
Oh my
these.
gosh. Well, there was like she was on like Twitter. She had this like viral interview where she was talking about some other like cast member that in one of her movies was a man and like had treated her so poorly that she was like, I will, I think her name's like Rebecca or something. She was like, I will like never speak.
Rebecca Ferguson?
Yeah, Rebecca Ferguson. She was like, I will never work with this person again or speak to them. And I think there was speculation that it was Hugh Grant. Um, and I was like, because and the thing that the guy said to her was that he was like, you're not a real actor. Like I'm a proper actor. And
You're an Oompa Loompa.
yeah, he's an Oompa Loompa. Now he's a Tony the Tiger. Do you think like orange is his favorite color? And he's
I don't
just
know.
he's really wanting to like embody the color.
Like, I don't know. And it just came out that, there's videos of him at the Eras tour. And like, I think he needed that. Like, I think he needed a night out
Really.
because I'm really concerned. I don't know if someone's care reported this man yet. Like, I just feel like it was really weird when he was announced as an Oompa Loompa and he was really like kind of grumpy the entire like press tour.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I haven't seen any press of him for Unfrosted.
I
So
haven't
I
seen
don't know
any
if he's
press for
yeah, so I
Unfrosted.
don't know. I don't know what's going on. And I think it is a cry for help.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe he has like a lot of debts, you know?
But it's
He's
like, like Harrison Ford is grumpy, but it's like a cool grumpy.
yeah, I don't know.
You don't like Harrison Ford,
I
but
don't like
pretend
Harrison
you did.
Ford. Okay. Yeah, I get that. I guess like Harrison Ford is like he has a reason to be grumpy, and Hugh
Yeah.
Grant is like,
And like Harrison Ford, they're inviting him to not be an Oompa Loompa.
yeah. I don't know. It feels to me like Hugh Grant maybe has some like loan sharks after him or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, and he is
When Hugh Grant's next role on Disney Channel.
yeah. Well, I guess I don't know much about Hugh Grant's like filmography. In my mind, he was always doing like rom-com leading men.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he like I again don't know much of his filmography. I don't know if he ever took on really serious like drama roles or anything, but I guess this might be like the pipeline of like leading man in romance film to Oompa Loompa because it's like
Mhm.
what else do they play? Like they only played like hot and mysterious and now he's like aged out of the leading man role.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, like, he was in like Dungeons and Dragons when we reviewed that one.
Hmm.
And like, he wasn't like an Oompa Loompa, Like, it's like there are, I don't know, Hugh, if you're listening, I promise there's another path forward.
I don't know, but yeah, so I love to think that Hugh was the one that screamed at Rebecca Ferguson so much that she refused to ever act with him again in the same room, even while they were filming the movie together. And I just love to imagine that he screamed at her while wearing the Tony the Tiger mascot costume. But yeah, so I really liked I'm just gonna like shout out some bits that I did really like. I did like ominous supercomputer that seemed
Mm.
to
I
have
was confused by that. I was like, we cut to the computer telling people when they were going to die. And I don't know, like I like rewinded it and rewatched that part like a few times, or I was like, did I miss them introducing what this was? I don't know. I was
Mhm.
confused.
It didn't confuse me. I thought it was really funny. It was like I think they literally just picked like as many 50s, 60s like iconic imagery as possible. And it was like the supercomputer and it was just like a really funny thing that this supercomputer had like ill intent and also had
Mm.
like a very distinct personality. So I liked that. And then I did really like the milk mob bosses. What was it like Friendly Farms or something?
Yeah.
Milk mob boss.
Yeah, I liked the history of milk that they used to just milk for fun because it was just like
Yeah.
spraying each other with like white water or whatever they said.
Yeah. And they were like the one day the brave person that like accidentally got some on their cereal or something. That was really funny. And I liked Peter Dinklage plays like the mob boss leader
Yeah,
of
who wasn't in this movie?
I
Like they
know.
even got that like Sarah Cooper who does the Trump impressions
Oh, really?
on yeah, she was always the one who was like famous on like Twitter or whatever.
Which part did
And
she
then
play?
she oh in the I was like she played Trump. She was like the assistant, like Peggy or something.
Oh, is that the screenshot that you sent to me? Because I
Yeah.
just did not understand it.
Yeah.
Mario was like, Trump is in this movie. And I was like, what? I was like, is this like another like Home Alone
Well, they do have
situation?
Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, which I guess that was what the
They
head of
researched
post.
one thing.
Yeah, that and it was only in like the post credits, where they gave post credit. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, so I liked that. I thought it was funny that they decided to kill the Schwinn bike guy, Schwinn. They were like, I did like that there was like some, stakes to this space race and they have them all dressed up in the astronaut suit and then somehow there's an explosion caused by like the oxygen that's going into his suit that he literally does not need at all because he is on Earth. And they're like behind like the sandbag bag bunker. I thought that was really funny. And then they do like an additional, I do know what you're saying. Like they have like a funny bit and then they don't like just let it rest. I think for like someone like you that likes to process, there was no like time to like have a joke and then get to laugh
Yeah,
at
and
it.
it was like I don't know, and I was watching it, but also like kind of doing like my scheduling for the week.
Hmm.
And I just kept on having to go back because it just moved like so quickly.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, suddenly we're like in this completely other plot line or something. And so, yeah, I think it's not something to like watch on the side. I think it's something that you need like full engagement on. Um,
Hmm.
it's not like, which is like, and maybe that's me like my bias on like what I think comedy is. I feel like comedy typically is like an easy watch, but this one I felt like it wasn't an easy watch. Like you had to sit down and focus and commit to it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think that comedy is always an easy watch. I think like comedy is fairly like hard to define, honestly, and there are a lot of different types. But yeah, so it's like they had the scene of killing Schwinn, and it was very funny because it was like such low stakes. And then his wife even says at his funeral, like the premise is like he works at a cereal like factory. Like, why did he explode? And they're just like, hmm. But it's like they do that bit and then they don't let you like pause and
Mhm.
like relish in the humor because then they do another bit on top of it where I can't even remember who he is. It's like some other guy like emerges from the smoke and they're like, "Oh my God, he's alive." And the guy's like, "Nope, sorry, like it's
I have
Bob."
seen that guy live at the Comedy Cellar in New York City.
Oh yeah. Was he
Hmm.
good?
He was fine. He was like a correspondent on The Daily Show, I think.
Hmm.
Once upon a time. I have also been to the now closed Kellogg's restaurant in New York City because I lived like 10 minutes walking from it.
What did they serve? Just
Brooke.
like cereal?
Yeah, literally just cereal. You could pick your cereal and like pick your milk and like pick your toppings.
Oh, I wouldn't call that a restaurant. I thought you like I was envisioning them being creative and having like I
No,
don't know.
it was about as
They could have
you know,
They could have done like cornflake crusted fried
no,
chicken. Okay. Well,
no.
if they had consulted with me, we would have made it.
But yeah, they wouldn't have
Wouldn't have
closed.
closed. But yeah, and then they did the like full like Mad Men spin-off bit, which I've never seen Mad Men, but I knew enough about like Don Draper, I think is the character's name, John Hamm plays. So I knew enough that that was what they were referencing, and I'm sure if you were like a diehard Mad Men fan, you would have been like cackling. But I thought it was interesting that they included that as well. And then I think my favorite line was I think it was during the funeral cereal scene, and it was like instead of like the last full measure of devotion, they say like when a man gives his last full serving suggestion
Hmm.
of himself. I really liked that line for some reason. Um, but yeah, any other comments on plot or I thought the like costume design was really interesting, like for the main character here that I'm or for one of the main characters, Melissa McCarthy's character, Stan that I'm dressed like. I thought her style was really interesting. Like for the time period, it seemed like everyone else was fairly like period accurate pieces. And then at least from my understanding, I don't know how accurate Stan's were. She was like pretty zany, pretty like quirky Tumblr girl
Hmm.
compared to the rest of them. So costuming was interesting. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
any
I
other
did like the set design and the prop choices and all of that. Yeah, I think it was, I don't know. I also didn't like the children that spoke like they were 50 and I don't know.
that was like a really interesting like character choice and
Yeah.
casting choice as well. The little girl was like she was talented, but she was giving like theater audition. Um,
She was it was like she is a 50-year-old who's trying to give up smoking. Like that was
yeah.
the vibe.
Yeah, wow, interesting choice. Like I thought the little girl was good, but I was like, huh, okay.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and
And
there's like I feel like they could have done more with that. Like I feel like there could have
mhm.
been like there was like such an opportunity like for tension there. And like the two things that I just have like the only beef that I have with this movie is like I feel like the discovery of the toaster pastry gunk wasn't like my favorite. I feel like that wasn't like really explained or the like the stakes weren't quite there.
Yeah,
And
like
then
I think it would have been interesting if we had previously shown that like Jerry Seinfeld's character. Why do I keep wanting to say like Jerry Springer? I think that's a totally different person. But that Jerry Seinfeld's like character was like working on a pastry and that this was
mhm.
something that he was like avidly working on until we like get into this like dumpster and then suddenly it's like, wait, this was my life's work. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, what? Since when?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. It was, I think like I think that that's part of it is like we did hit like the major plot points that you would expect in a plot, but we didn't linger on any of those plot points like we didn't linger on like the climax in a way that I thought that we should have. We didn't linger on like the everything is lost, everything
Mm.
has failed, we'll never
Mhm.
move on past this moment very long at all until we get like, oh, yay, our sea monkey friend is gonna help us out. And then like our win wasn't very prolonged either. And I think something else that I noted on like the space race thing is like I think the space race as an idea was really good as like a parallel between space race and like the pastry creation. Um, but like it also sometimes felt like at some point the movie expected that their audience is going to get the joke. They're going to know who Post is. They're going to
Mm.
know all this stuff. And at some points, they were like, oh no, our audience is stupid. So then they had like this really like on the nose line about like, we went to the moon, the breakfast moon, which was just
Mhm.
like too much. Like it was just like, it was, we understood that parallel just fine.
Mhm.
So in some ways, like it felt like they were like really trusting of their audience to understand what was going on. And then at some points they're like, we need to explain to this audience what is going on. So I don't know, I felt like the vibe was like consistently inconsistent.
They were really good at being inconsistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there was like potential love interest between the Post and
Yeah.
Kellogg's. Which like Amy Schumer I now have like very mixed opinions on. She said like some very like racist stuff.
And she like historically has stolen her comedy material from women of color.
Wonderful. So it seems like her
Mhm.
character has just continued to develop poorly. So yeah, wasn't like a super huge fan of her being the main character, one of the main characters. And yeah, the like Russian sugar subplot was
I
a,
know.
a bit confusing. I don't know. I feel like that
Because
one.
like we had Russians, we had Nazis, like
Mhm.
can we I don't know. It was too much. I did like the idea that they have a beet yogurt or a beet cereal. I did like that idea, but I don't know. It was just like everything like nothing could be simple. Like nothing could just be like a sugar supplier. It's like, no, it has to be the sugar mob or it has to be the Russians holding the sugar. I don't know. It was just like some things like it's like when I'm teaching fantasy or anything like that and I have a student that like wants to come up with a different word for every single thing that has like an English corresponding thing. And it's like sometimes bread can be bread. Bread doesn't have to be like, I don't know, some like alien language, you know,
Schnorgalosh.
yeah, it can be simplified.
Oh, all right. Well, any final thoughts before? Well, did you want to talk about the Nepo baby who's your daddy of
Yeah,
this movie?
sure, sure. So I had Melissa McCarthy is the cousin of actress and Playboy model Jenny McCarthy. Growing up, I did not know about like the Playboy aspect, and I only knew Jenny McCarthy from Santa Baby, that like Christmas movie that played on ABC Family every so often.
Yes. Isn't Jenny McCarthy like autism vaccine person?
Is she?
I feel
I
like
thought she
she
was I know that she's a judge on The Mask or The Masked Singer or whatever. The Mask is the movie.
maybe I'm thinking about the wrong person, but
I
I
don't know.
swear I thought that Jenny McCarthy like has an autistic child and was like a strong like vaccines cause autism person like
I don't know.
before it was popular,
Oh, yeah,
like
she is.
10 years ago.
McCarthy has written several books about parenting and has promoted research into environmental causes and alternative medical treatments for autism. She has promoted the disproven idea that vaccines cause autism.
Hmm. Yeah, and
And
she was like an early supporter of the vaccines cause
it's good to get
autism.
in on the ground floor. It
She
really
did.
is.
Yeah, she started right there at the beginning, but truly this was like 15 years ago, like on The View, she was saying this bullshit. And it's
Wow.
because she has like an autistic child, which I just find like so sad because she clearly is like trying to, find some sort of reason, someone to blame about her child's like differences.
Mm.
And I don't know, I feel like I'd be like fairly upset if I was her child and like my mom was going on TV to talk about something that's like so clearly and so many times has been proven just completely false. And also taking some responsibility for the damage that the like autism vaccine thing has caused with like mistrust in vaccines in general and mistrust with the medical system, which started with the autism vaccine and then just exploded with COVID and then
Mm.
like vaccine deniers in general. So
So hopefully Melissa
Melissa.
McCarthy doesn't talk to her.
So Melissa, at the next
Um,
family reunion, you just tell Jenny my thoughts on the situation.
and then I was also going to say that Jerry Seinfeld is the father of Shoshana Lonstein, which was a joke because he wasn't the father. He was her boyfriend. So he met her when he was 38 and she was 17. And he ran into her in Central Park and they dated for 4 years. And
Ugh.
she actually like transferred colleges to like be with this old man and it had like a lot of media scrutiny. And so if you've ever seen people that are like, I don't know, there's like a Letterboxd post that's like Jerry
Hmm.
Seinfeld came up with his top 17 serials for this movie. Look up Jerry Seinfeld 17.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that's like a very common like internet
mhm.
like meme style of calling out predators. I people are creative, but yeah, I didn't know
Mhm.
that that was her name. Has she like how did she take the media coverage? Is she in the public eye anymore?
I don't know, but she said that like they broke up because of the media and stuff. So I don't know.
Hmm.
So Brooke, did you have any remake ideas? Do you remember that that's
Yes.
part of the show?
Yeah, I forgot that that was the premise of our show. And I still did not, come up with any great ones. But we've referenced it a million times in the pod so far that this film is very reminiscent of, another great movie that was released last year that Marriya absolutely hated, Oppenheimer. But we've talked about some of the issues that we had. And like I said, I feel like we could have added another hour and a half onto
I
this
swear I
baby.
do like some
And
movies.
I I want to see Unfrosted directed by Christopher Nolan
Oh my
because
God.
I feel like he could get his little claws in here and I'd be crying. Like I'd be like emotionally moved. Someone would be like having sex like on top of a toaster. Like I think that we want to see like the seedy underbelly and just the dramatics of it all. I think that he honestly might be like coming up with something as we speak about the drama version of Unfrosted. So love to see that, Chris. If you have it in your schedule, I think you could take a little look. And then we are filming this in June during Pride Month. And as we discussed, there was a little scene at the end of our little ravioli boy and the vaguely Nazi German man and
Mhm.
Chef Boyardee.
Who I do love Thomas Lennon, but he was just like, I don't know. Everyone in this movie, I was like, oh yeah, they're really trying to act. Like it was like, good job, you're really acting. And I don't think that's the takeaway for a film, but please continue.
Anyways, they have like a little post credit or during credit scene. Because apparently they like move in together and act as one as a family, as you should for the children.
Mhm.
And it's Pride Month. I just really want to see more. I want to see more representation on the screen
Yeah.
for all of our, two dad households with ravioli boys.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan would have them fuck.
Oh, Christopher Nolan would have them fuck on screen, and we would get to see like the physical birth of Ravioli
Mhm.
Boy.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying we could have had more. It is Pride Month. And then instead of the title Unfrosted, I think it's Unfrosted Tips, the untold story of Guy Fieri's hairstylist.
Wow.
And it's the before, so it's the
Wow.
unfrosted to the frosted tips, and it's really more of, a documentary, and it's going
He
through
back then he was just Boy Fury.
it's the story of Boy Fieri with his natural brunette hair, and then the courage that one man has to continually frost those tips,
Mhm.
and the hairstylist that's been by his side through his entire transition. So I think that there's some potential there. And then lastly, I just think that like Eggo should have gotten in on the action as well. Like should they
I think
do
Echo is actually later. I was doing research.
well, so this was my idea for a sequel. So,
Oh, okay.
if they want to do Unfrosted 2, I do think that we need the Eggo behind the scenes story. Just for my entertainment. I just want to
Hmm.
know how they made it from toaster pastry to toaster waffle. Like was Belgium involved? Were there international conferences? Was Elle for Stranger Things? Was she on the panel? Like I just I wanna know. So yeah, there's a lot of potential for sequels there as well. Marriya, did you have any remakes?
Yeah, mine are dumb. I mean, and more just like thoughts. Um, I just like I feel like we should have tackled Frosted Flakes more. Like that was right there. And I think that was like one of the first things that they did is they did like corn flakes or like frosted flakes without the frosted that was just flakes.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I feel like there was a potential to have that whole element there. We could also do the invention of toaster strudel if we want to go into the Mean Girls verse of it all. Because I think it would be nice to get Gretchen on the board. And I also wanted like maybe like a horror film from the point of view of the Pop-Tarts, because I don't know if you've seen those commercials where Pop-Tarts are always being brutally lured and murdered. Do you remember those where they're like
No.
crazy good? And
Oh,
they're like, I'm hiding from the human. And the little lizard, I don't know why it's a lizard, but he's like, try over here. And then they like pop into a toaster and then they die. Or like the lizard's like, pop
yeah.
into this like ball pit and then he eats them in the ball pit. Or they find like, I don't know, the limbs of other Pop Tarts. So I thought it really we could have upped the horror gore of the film. Um, and then I also think that the actual like story of like Kellogg's and Post was something that could have been of interest. And I kind of
Hmm.
feel like Christopher Nolan has like something to work with
Mm-hmm.
because um so in 1876 John Harvey Kellogg became the superintendent of the Battle Creek Sanitarium. And so they ended up like I don't know if it was on purpose, but they like created cornflakes there.
Mm-hmm.
And that ended up inspiring one of the patients there who was C.W. Post, who created Post. So
Oh.
he was actually inspired while he was a patient at the sanitarium of Kellogg.
What is a sanitarium? Is that like, I thought that was
It's
like a
like,
psych thing.
I
Is it
don't
not?
know.
I thought it was like a psych ward, but maybe not. Maybe it
I
was
don't
just
know.
like a
Apparently,
hospital.
apparently Amelia Earhart was also there. Maybe she should
Oh.
have stayed there just so that we know we got eyes on her, you know.
We're keeping tabs.
I think it was just like a health resort is what they're calling it.
Okay.
And so it was managed by Dr. John Harvey. Um, and it became one of the premier wellness destinations.
So it's
I
like a
think,
med spa. Like they were getting
yeah.
Botox there.
Yeah. So I think it was like based on like the Seventh Day Adventist Church, which I don't fully
Really?
know about.
Oh,
But
Seventh Day Adventist is Lane from Gilmore Girls.
oh, okay. Well, she ran it. And it's all about like biologic living. So I don't know. But yeah, it had Thomas Edison was there, Amelia Earhart, Irving Fisher, Henry Ford, James Cash Penny, otherwise known as J.C. Penney,
Mm.
and C.W. Post, which I just think is really interesting that like, I don't know, that was something that we could have talked about, like
Yeah.
what a weird situation. And then like basically, um, John Harvey Kellogg worked with his brother W.K. Kellogg, who worked as the bookkeeper at the sanitarium. And then basically, oh, okay, so here it is. So the Kellogg's worked together in research to improve the vegetarian diet of the patients at the sanitarium, and specifically in the search of a wheat-based granola. And that's somehow how they created cornflakes.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, and then I guess at some point, they, I guess W.K. Kellogg actually controlled the flake form and decided to kind of sell it. And then at some point, they ended up like suing each other and stuff, and it had to like go to like the Supreme Court. I don't think like the big Supreme Court. I think it was like, the little
Like
one,
the state.
like yeah, I think it was like a state Supreme Court. Um, so not as big of a thing, but it's just, I don't know, really, really, yeah, the Michigan Supreme Court. Um,
See,
so basically,
Nolan would
hmm?
eat that shit
I
up.
know,
We'd be
right?
in the court proceedings. It'd be about the lawyers. It'd be in black and white. The rest would be in color.
Well, the other thing that I was thinking of is like maybe like a spinoff because we have seen a like space race between companies before. And I know that you take a certain interest in this because it is your birth film, A Bug's Life versus Ants.
Hmm. Yeah,
Ants is your birth film.
it is. And like, one of them was like leaning heavily into communism, and Disney was like, we can't do that shit here. They
Mm.
were like, none of that communist stuff on our American soil. But yeah, see, I feel like there's just all sorts of potential with this story.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do we want to jump into what we've been watching lately?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. So I think like the last one that we did was Matrix. I'm looking at my letterbox. I'll just rapid fire these since it's been a while. I saw the 2004 film First Daughter, about the first daughter of the United States. Loved that movie. Loved it when I was a kid. Rewatched it. Saw Father of the Bride with Steve Martin, 1991. First time watch for me. Really liked it. I think there is a sequel, like Father of the Bride 2 or something, where she's pregnant and the mom is pregnant. So I might want to watch that. Saw Deepwater Horizon, about the Deepwater Horizon incident with what is
Oh,
it?
I think I watched that.
And so yeah, with BP oil, the explosion on the oil rig.
Doesn't it have what's his name?
It's Mark Wahlberg. Is it? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg. Um Then another 2001 Moulin Rouge, first time watch for me. Loved it. Can't believe it was a first time watch. If I had watched Moulin Rouge as a kid, I know it would have been like a favorite of mine.
You would have gone into musical theater.
My whole life would be different. I'd be like on Broadway right now. But it's just so good. See, like Moulin Rouge, I feel like is similarly like fast paced, kind of like bit motivated, but it's like a musical. I feel like all musicals are kind of like we go
Yeah, I
on to
feel
the
like
next.
Unfrosted could have been a musical. It
Yeah,
needed to be a musical.
maybe that's how we solve it because it had like the vibes of a musical where they're kind of just like random zany things. But
Mhm.
yeah, Moulin Rouge is great. I knew that I would like it. I literally have watched the clip of like the Come What May final scene on YouTube. I don't know how like
And don't you like Ewan McGregor?
I fucking love you and McGregor. And I have like I think because I love you and McGregor, I like somehow like had seen this scene before
I'm
and
not
it
a big Nicole Kidman person. I
yeah.
always think about her interview of like the 73 questions with Vogue or whatever,
Mhm.
and they're like, "What's your favorite form of exercise?" And she's like, "Making love." And I was like, "Nicole, you do not need to get that intense with your Keith Urban
Oh
love
my
story."
gosh. I don't like know too much about Nicole Kidman, haven't like watched too much of her stuff. All
I
I
mean,
know
that's how
is
you were introduced to the Irish immigration.
yes, like literally her and Tom Cruise and like the only two things that I know about Nicole Kidman, redhead, Tom Cruise, Irish film, and then her like post Tom Cruise divorce pictures where she's like yes. So yeah, I'd watched the Ewan McGregor Moulin Rouge ending scene literally for like years. Like just would like play it on occasion and be like, come what may, I
Wow.
will love you. He's so good. And so I really liked that. Then I saw big turn here. Saw a 2011 film Zookeeper. um which was okay, not really good at all. What's that? Kevin James, yeah. Kevin James, Rosario Dawson.
Okay, not very good at all. Gives 3 stars.
That's my baseline. That's my baseline for like
You really have to fuck up to get lower than that.
you do. I'm pretty easy to please. Then 2011, The Descendants, one of my favorite movies.
Not the Disney Channel.
Not the Disney Channel. Came out like around the same time, which was very confusing because it's like one of my favorite films. And then my like best friend was babysitting that entire summer and she was like, "Oh yeah, I've also watched The Descendants like 50 times this summer." And I was like, "Man, what do you think of Hawaii? Like it's so sad when the mom tragically dies from her coma." And she was like, "What?" She was like, "That's definitely not what I was watching with these like 6-year-olds." Then saw A Few Good Men, another great Tom Cruise performance. Love that
Were they
film.
good? I've never seen it.
A Few Great Men.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
no, I would really recommend definitely like a great like courtroom drama, like courtroom proceedings kind of thing. Jack Nicholson is like the villain in this and he like gives a great performance. Then saw 2005 Red Eye with Cillian Murphy. He is so like young and like fresh faced looking in this. His cheekbones are really just popping. And it's also with Rachel McAdams is the
Mm.
other person. The
Are
other
they
person.
high?
They're in the air on a plane.
Oh, I thought it was like that's why they have red eyes, or
No,
was
they're
it
like
Flash?
glaucoma.
Oh,
No, it's like a red eye flight. Um, Not my favorite as well. It was okay. Then Overboard 1987. Oh, I absolutely love Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. And this is like one of my favorite films. I love Overboard.
I think Goldie
Um,
Hawn went to American University for like a year.
oh really?
Hmm.
Oh, I love her. She's such a sweetheart, and they've been together for so long. I love them. Kurt Russell also just seems like a really nice guy. Like Kate Hudson is like he's like the dad that stepped up for me, and like oh, I love him. And then I saw Meg 2, The Trench. I've never seen Meg 1. And
Did you feel like you were missing
I
something?
think I did. Yeah, actually, there was like I think some pretty like big plot points that I might have missed.
How did they get to the trench?
It was
I'm
horrible.
picturing the war.
Yeah, no, it's like an underground like radioactive trench, like similar to like I was like, is this in the Monsters universe with like Godzilla? Because it's a similar thing to the Godzilla universe, where there's like like primordial radioactive large creatures or something. And so there's like I don't know if it's like the Mariana Trench, or some other trench in the ocean. And they put on like these suits. It is one of the worst movies, like
But
really
like, is it the
bad.
good bad?
No, that's why I give it two
Um,
stars. So
oh
not
wow, they really fucked up.
really bad, but not like you get a 1 star if I cannot finish the movie. Like
Hmm.
1 star is did not finish, had to turn off. 2 stars was like, man, that was a stinker. 3 stars was like, that was a movie. 4 stars, 4 stars was like, that was a great movie. And then 5 stars is like, I would choose to put this in my DVD like binder if I was going on like a road trip. Then watched the 1995 film Outbreak, classic like apocalypse disaster film. Really good. Had one of the like dumbest ending lines that I've ever witnessed. It was like the love story between Dustin Hoffman and his wife, and they're like estranged ex-husband, ex-wife, and they like survive this horrible outbreak of this disease. And the last line is like, oh, I'm married you once. Like I guess I'll like do it again or something. And it just that's where it ended. Like it cut to credits. And I was like, you're actually shitting me. Like that can't be real. And that was it. Oh, and I've also been watching The Walking Dead lately. Picked that
Ooh.
back up, was really into it, started it from the beginning in 2020 and then ended at the beginning of season 7 in like 2021 or 2022. And now I'm starting it back up on season 7 on season 7 because it's gotten better after the first couple episodes. Um, and yeah, really excited about Walking Dead, and I've been trying to do more reading. But yeah, what about
Oh,
you,
what are you
Marriya?
reading?
Well, I've started the ACOTAR series, which I did not realize was short, was like a what's it called? What is it called when it stands for something? It's like the first letter.
Abbreviation or
Not a mnemonic
oh,
device, but
it stands for something.
okay. We're both drawing a blank. But it stands for like A Court of Thorns and Roses. So it's like a really
Oh.
popular fantasy book. So started that. And oh, I'm also like a third of the way through your copy of A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So reading both of those. What have you
Wow.
been watching, Marriya?
Okay, so I'm gonna go through them really quick and then we'll go more in depth on my last five.
Okay.
Um, so I've seen a lot. So I saw Argylle. um, which I knew what to expect. The Adam Project with our boy Percy Jackson. And then I went into like a weird The Rock moment. I saw the game plan, Race to Witch Mountain, and Jungle Cruise. And then I rewatched Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I struggled through Madam Web, which I think technically is a movie. I saw Haunted Mansion, the new one,
Oh.
which, it's fine. I saw Wonka, so Hugh Grant. I I'll pray for you. I saw Genius. I don't remember actually seeing Genius. Um, Me and Earl and the Dying Girl is like incredible. I cried a lot.
Oh,
Um,
I've never seen it.
that one's really good. It's like basically like this guy's mom forces him to form a relationship with this girl who has cancer,
Hmm.
who's like like she's friends with this girl's mom, and she's like she needs more friends, and so then he forms like an emotional attachment, and then she's like, why are you mourning, what's wrong with my son, when she dies, and he has like an emotional effect. And it's like you made your son have an emotional connection with a dying girl.
Oh.
But I thought that was really good. Dream Scenario made me really uncomfortable with Nick Cage, where basically like I'm getting more in depth than I should be. But basically like it's a weird movie where this random man, Nick Cage, is showing up in everyone's dreams, and like they're often like something is happening, um like they're being like brutally murdered, and then like he's just watching from a distance, and so it like gets into like himself in real life being like a passive person, and like I don't know, so it's really interesting, but it was also like some people are like, can you reenact my sex scene with you, or I don't know. I watched Happiness for Beginners, which is really cute, but it's all about like Ellie Kemper like breaking free from a divorce, and then she immediately finds another man, so
Hmm.
whatever. And then Shotgun Wedding. Also this just in, Bill Cobbs just died.
Who's that?
He was in Air Bud. So um then I saw Shotgun Wedding, which was like he's like a baseball player, and I think she's like a lawyer, and somehow they're DIYing like lights for their wedding. I don't know. I rewatched We Bought a Zoo because everyone's seen We Bought a Zoo, but has anyone actually seen it? Um, so I saw it and I
I've
experienced it
seen
and I
it. I
cried.
love We Bought a Zoo.
But have you seen it?
Like how I've
I don't
seen
know.
Into Its
I
Heart.
I feel like everyone like saw it like randomly on TV, but no one's ever actually like sat down and saw it.
I have
But
sat down to like
okay, all right, so you have
purposefully.
seen it. I
Oh
saw Family Switch.
yeah,
Um,
I liked that one.
I do like body switch movies, but I think like I don't understand about like body switch movies where it's like, okay, I could be switched with like a 50-year-old man, or like a 50-year-old man could be switched with me, and they know they should have the amount of awareness that like you shouldn't stand on a chair and dance during a Yale interview. It's
Mm.
like what I'm teaching in my writing studies classes about like rhetorical situation and how you act depending on the situation. I think the fact that you shouldn't get up and dance during a major college interview should maybe kind of be like, I don't know, second nature. But whatever. I saw Dial M for Murder, which was like fine, but it's a lot of talking in one room. I rewatched Deadpool and Deadpool 2. I saw Hocus Pocus 2, um, which was fine. The acting wasn't incredible. I saw Searching, which is the like previous one to what's that movie I made you watch? The
Missing.
one, yeah, Missing. So I saw that one, um, which was interesting. This time it's about like a father of a girl who goes missing, and he has to like use her computer or whatever. I saw Queen Pins, which was not very good. It's about like extreme couponing.
Mm.
Um, and do you say coupons or coupons?
Coupon.
Q?
Yeah.
Okay. Made me uncomfortable.
Coupon. Coupon. Coupon.
Well, it's like I don't understand
Coupon.
your placement of O's and U's. You say tour when the U doesn't come first, and then coupons when the U doesn't come first.
I don't know.
I don't know, it freaks me out. Okay, let's keep going. I saw Big for the first time,
I've never seen
which
it.
everyone needs therapy in that movie. Like everyone is just like a little bit, ooh. I saw Pain Hustlers, which is weird. It has like Emily Blunt and Chris Evans, and it's not incredible. I finally saw The Social Network, which I had never seen before, just because don't really like Jesse Eisenberg, and I feel
Oh.
like he plays the same exact character in every single thing. So it's just like, I don't know if Mark, I don't know. I don't want to give Mark Zuckerberg the benefit of the doubt, but
Mm.
like, is Mark Zuckerberg that big of an asshole, or was he just given the Jesse Eisenberg treatment? So I don't know. Nepo wise, because now I have these on my top ones. Um, Jesse Eisenberg's mom was a clown named Bonabini, so that probably helped him. Um, his sister was a former child actress. And also this like made me, I don't know. Apparently, so Eisenberg started writing screenplays at 16 and they were optioned to major film studios, but he decided to not go through with them because he didn't like the lack of control. I don't know. The thing sounds like made up and like overly pompous to me, which I think is like Jesse Eisenberg in general. I don't know. I
Hmm.
saw Asuncion in college. I don't know if you remember that moment of my life, and it just like fully changed me into thinking that he's an asshole. And then Justin Timberlake is obviously famous from the tour, the world tour.
Mm.
Army Hammer, who is so his dad, Michael Armand Hammer, is a big businessman who owned Nodler Publishing and Armand Hammer Productions, which is a whole film and TV production company. And his family is from like a long line of like petroleum tycoons, which makes sense. Like if you're born with like super rich and never like wanting for anything, yes, you would go after like the one thing you can't have, human flesh.
Mm.
So I don't know, maybe it makes sense. Um, Max Minghella is the son of director Anthony Minghella, who directed like the English Patient, which he won an Oscar for, and he also directed The Talented Mr. Ripley. And then I also saw Hitman, which is like the Netflix. I don't even know if it was originally Netflix, but the next Netflix movie with Glenn Powell.
Mm.
And Glenn Powell, I don't know if this is like a weird take or if anyone has taken note of this, but Glenn Powell, I've seen him in this, I've seen him in Set It Up, and he always chews like he has a secret. Like whenever he's chewing, he chews with a smile as if like he's trying to pretend like it's not there. Like someone's going to take the food from his mouth,
Mm.
and so he has to keep it a secret. I don't know if anyone else is clued into his chewing, but I've noticed it on every single
Mm.
thing where it's like he's chewing like that thing's gonna get taken away like a baby bird. I don't know. At any moment. Um, and then I also saw Inside Out 2, which really messed me up as a human being. So if you have like really bad anxiety, I don't know, maybe it's not for you. So I had to have like an emergency therapy session because I'm like, maybe I don't have a sense of self anymore. So that's great. Maya Hawke, obviously, Nepo baby. And then I learned that Phyllis Smith, who like plays like Sadness and plays Phyllis in The Office, she was actually like, which I maybe I had heard this before, but it was really interesting. But she was actually the casting associate
Mm.
for The Office, and then they like made that role for her, which I thought was really interesting. So there are
Mm.
other ways to break in, ladies. And then I also saw because um the Smithsonian had the like summer solstice hours, which meant that like the Smithsonian was open until like midnight. So then we came back and we watched Night at the Museum 2, which is the Battle of Smithsonian. which is really good. But then I was like remembering, so if you don't remember, the movie ends with like, yes, the exhibits are all saved and they're not shipped off to storage, but the way that they're saved is that the Natural History Museum is kept for like longer hours. And so they like give their own tours and stuff. But it's like, is that a happy ending, or is that the ending that capitalism tells us to be happy? Because these guys are only getting like maybe like, I don't know, like 8, 9 hours of life, and now they have to work during a portion of that. So is it actually a happy ending? But Ben Stiller is the son of famed comedian duo Stiller and Meara. His dad was Jerry Stiller and his mom was Ann Meara, so he grew up going with them to their comedy appearances, and he made his debut in his mother's television series. Obviously, Owen Wilson is the son of photographer Laura Cunningham Wilson, a photographer, and Robert Andrew Wilson, an advertising executive and operator of a public television station. And his brothers Andrew and Luke are also actors. He met Wes Anderson in college, and that's how they began collaborating. And then Christopher Guest is the son of Peter Hayden Guest, a British United Nations diplomat who later became the fourth Baron Hayden Guest, and his mother is Jean Pauline Hines, who was the former VP of casting for CBS. So probably that helped. And he's married to also Nepo baby Jamie Lee Curtis. So very interesting. And then I've also been watching people play Nancy Drew games. And I don't think I'm any smarter or better at logic. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, where can they find you and the pod?
They can find me at Marriya Schwarz on all social media. I just made a tweet that no one liked, so you could get in on the ground floor. And you can find the podcast at Remake Hot Take on all social media. Is TikTok staying? Like, I don't know. People keep like are like, this is the week, but
I think so. I haven't heard anything.
Brooke, where can they find you?
I don't think
Geographically on the fourth floor.
the fourth floor of an apartment building in Cleveland, undisclosed. Yeah, I don't think they can find me anywhere on social media now. They can find me at, what is it? Reese Brooke 1 on TikTok.
Sure.
They can find me tagged in the TikTok. I don't post on there, but you can find me there. Well, we are so excited to be back. Tell us in the comments how much you missed us and what you did while we were gone. If you
really missed us, say nothing. That's probably the best
don't
response we're
comment.
going to get. But we'll hear you loud and clear.
We'll see you. We'll see you not in the comments. All right. Bye.
Bye.